I went Esa einai el heharim me'ain yavo ezri. Esa einai el heharim me'ain yavo ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai ose shamayim va'aretz. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come from? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love stronger than death. Though we grieve in our hearts, may we be unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us, to your keeping. Good morning. My name is Cantor Vladimir Lapin. I'm here from Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple. It is a privilege and an honor to be here to remember and honor the memory of Charlotte Friedman, a devoted wife, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, a woman full of drive, passion, and intelligence, a woman full of knowledge and love, and the insatiable spirit to share that with others. Charlotte was a woman whose journey on this earth was a testament to love and to family. She lived to the beautiful age of 93, leaving an indelible mark on all those she encountered and cherished. Today we celebrate and honor her life, and join our hearts together to give comfort to her loved ones. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under the heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for giving birth and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time, a difficult time filled with many emotions and memories, both sweet and bitter. Mourning is the price that we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit Charlotte gave you all cannot be weighed or measured, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that her light will always be with you, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. We continue our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, linking Charlotte's life with the tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. Psalm 23. Adonai roi lo echsar, binot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot, al mei menuchot, yinaleini. Nafshi shovev, yishovev, yancheini b'maglei tzedek, yancheini b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki elech בגייץ על מוות לא ירא רע ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema inachamuni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. I invite you all to take a deep breath. Today we will hear from Charlotte's beloved granddaughter Danielle and her children Mike, Roger, and Kathy, who will all share their words of dedication and memory. Danielle.
Hi everyone, I am Danielle Schenker, one of Charlotte's granddaughters. You may be asking yourself why I'm introducing myself. You all know me, but that's how my grandma was from the time her kids were young. She would constantly be introducing her family to her friends and extended family, but we would somehow forget who they are. I remember when my grandma introduced me to our cousin Anita for the 20th time. She asked me if I knew who she was. I said, Donna, Mom and I traveled to California. We visited her in Berkeley, California. We rode in a convertible across the Golden Gate Bridge. I do think I know who she is, even if we hadn't seen her in 5 years. Today we gather and celebrate the incredible life of Dada, my grandma, who at 93 touched all our lives, leaving a lasting mark of love, laughter, and cherished memories in our heart. What is so symbolic is that 21 years ago, on October 10th, 2002, we sat in the same room as we said our goodbyes to Poppy, my grandfather. Dada traveled the world, was married to my Poppy for over 50 years, had 3 fantastic kids, 8 grandkids, and 5 great-grandkids. She lived such a full life. She truly loved her kids and grandkids. She even had the privilege of watching her oldest great-granddaughter, Julia, become a bat mitzvah just 4 weeks ago. Some of you may not be aware, but when I was a little girl, I couldn't say Grandma or Gaga. So that's how the name Dada was born. The name has stuck for 40 years. In fact, even her first email address was dadathebeautiful@AOL.com. A bridge master, a bacon lover, a news junkie, a pool and beach worshiper, and a Christmas enthusiast, even in a Jewish household. Dada had so many passions in life, yet there was one thing her children and grandchildren didn't get from Dada, was her love for shopping and buying stuff on trips. When I would come home from a trip, she often asked me, did you buy something? Of course my answer would be yes. Then she proceeded to say, are you sure you can't get that in Cleveland, Ohio? Mini hot dogs, Jell-O molds, briskets, and many other dishes were some of her staples during our family gatherings. She truly was an amazing cook. But unlike most Jewish grandmas, we knew there would be no leftovers. Dada had a love for Facebook. She created more accounts over the years than anyone I knew. I couldn't keep track at times. She loved commenting on posts, watching monkey videos, or calling me up to tell me that she liked my post. There were so many times over the years when she couldn't log into Facebook and immediately thought she needed a new computer or phone. Thankfully, thanks to her savvy grandchildren and Dale Winograd, she always stayed connected to the world. When my grandma had her second heart attack 4 years ago and flatlined in the ER at Ahuja, Bill Spanner quickly went into NP mode and performed CPR, which saved her life. Most mothers would be grateful to their daughter's boyfriend for saving her life. Not Dada. Her first words were, "Bill, you didn't do me any favors." And this continued over the next 4 years. Although the day before she died, she did tell Bill that she felt good, which was music to her ears, or the kiss of death. My mom has truly been a saint the last 4 years. She has single-handedly taken care of both her sick mom and me over the past few years. Think Father of the Bride Part 2. It did become a running joke between my grandma and I, whose oxygen was better. And for some reason, I always lost. As we celebrate her life today, let's also extend our thoughts and prayers to the people of Israel when we hold them in our hearts and hope for a brighter and most peaceful future here and in Israel. In closing, Dada was famous for asking her grandchildren after every vacation, holiday, and school event what their favorite part was. I always told Dada, I can't just pick one thing. Well, Dada, you got your wish. You were my favorite, and my favorite part was truly having the privilege of living 15 minutes away from you my entire life. Dada, the beautiful, I love you forever and always.
That was a hard act to follow by my niece. I find it ironic that we throw a great party and say great things about my mother, and we know she's not going to be here. It's just, I felt it was very ironic. But today is, as Danielle said so well, it's really a day to talk and have fun. And not, it's a sad day, but everybody in that family room really felt the same about my mom as I did. She was a very unique woman. Some people would call her quirky. My dad's best friend actually had a nickname for her, called her Fruitcake. And when I grew up, I'm saying, well, that's not so nice about my mom, but, she really was very, very independent. Her and I had different feelings about a lot of different things. I was into health and thought that she could prolong her life by doing certain diets and exercise, and she absolutely said no. And we were getting arguments, and I remembered for the last 5 years, every time we get in a little bit of an argument, she said, Mike, I'm your only mother. And it really hit me that she's right. And everybody here in this room that has mothers that are alive, you only have one. And interesting, you don't get to pick your mother. I didn't pick my mom. But I think if I had to, she'd have been in my top 3 if I'd had a choice to pick my mom. Now, my mom grew up in Cleveland. She went to Glenville. Her parents, my grandfather, Maurice Wool, was very educated. He went to law school. He was very successful. Owned an apartment. My mom was very proud, and then the Depression hit, and he went busted. And it affected my mom, I think, her whole life. And my mom told me about it her whole life. And unfortunately, my grandfather never pivoted and recovered. He became an insurance salesman collecting debits for Metropolitan Life Insurance on the West Side. And my mom complained to me growing up that she never saw her father. She got up at 5 in the morning. He got up at 5 in the morning, came back at 7:30 in the evening, drove to the West Side, and hardly made a living. My mom also, her brother was blind, my Uncle Arthur. So she grew up in a tough situation. Her parents had very little money, and she shared a room with a blind brother. And she wanted to get out, and very good for her, she did get out. So at 18, she went to Ohio University and spent a semester there. And then, she had a dream. And the dream was to, live on her own and see the world. And luckily for her, she met my father. And as Danielle said, they were married for more than 50 years. She always talked very highly of my father. And I think all Roger and Kathy can attest. My mom loved three things about my father. He was fun, he was nice, and he liked to have fun. And that was what my mom liked to do. My mom liked to have fun. We were looking at her scrapbook that Kathy brought out, and I was amazed at all the trips that they went on. And again, my dad was a general contractor, made an average living, but their lifestyle, you wouldn't know it. They lived very well. They went on tremendous vacations. We grew up in a house on East Annisdale that cost $14,000. My dad borrowed money from his three brothers and for $3,000 down payment. And we lived very happily in East Annisdale for 16 years. And I thought I was rich. And again, the good thing about my mom was, and my dad, I didn't ever know that we didn't have a lot of means. I mean, anytime I needed a BLT or a peanut butter sandwich, my mom made it for me. So they did a great job really creating a great life for us without having a lot of means. The other really thing I want to take away from my mom's life is that 50 years she had with my dad was fantastic. And again, she couldn't have had a better life in my opinion. But I learned something that she didn't do. So my dad died, as Danielle said, 21 years ago. And my mom, like my grandfather, had a hard time pivoting, in my opinion. And again, we're supposed to speak very nice about everybody, and I love my mom, and I'm going to speak nice about her. But it was tough for her for the last 21 years of her life, because she lived her dream for 50 years, and for some that would be great. I always thought she should have another 20 years of that dream life, and it was hard for her to find that without my dad. And again, she had, as Danielle said, she had 2 heart attacks, and her health was deteriorating in the last few years. But she did, as Danielle said, loved her family. She was also unique in one thing. We go to funerals, all of us in this room, and we hear about moms and dads, especially moms, it seems like, and grandmoms. They live for their children. They live for their family. They live for their great grandkids. My mom did not, okay? My mom loved her kids, loved her grandkids, and loved her great-grandkids, but she didn't live for them. She lived for herself. She was a very independent person. I'm not saying selfish, but she liked to have fun. I was looking at the word funeral, and you can't spell funeral without seeing the first 3 words, which is fun. And that's what really my mom liked to do. Even at the end, I mean, we went out for her birthday about 13 days ago, I forget now, 2 weeks ago, and we got a video of her, and she was having fun. She was having fun. So, that's kind of how I want to remember my mom. The last thing I'll tell you is, she really won the game. And how do you win the game? Everybody in this room is going to die at one time. We just don't know when, right? Well, my mom actually didn't exactly know when, but she did know how and where. She refused to go anywhere but her house, her condo that she loved at Acacia. We had Tanya, who's in our family room, who took care of her for 6 months. And like Danielle said, my sister did an unbelievable job as a caretaker. So my mom got to stay in the place she loved. Sometimes, they say people love dogs more than people. I think sometimes she loved the condo more than people. She really loved that condo, and she got to stay there. She also won the game where, how she died. She died in her sleep, very peacefully. Tanya discovered her, and when we came there a few hours later, she was, she'd only died a few hours. She was still warm. She still had color in her face, and if you could see the peace on her eyes, on her face that Kathy and I saw, you'd realize she really did it her way. So and when it was time for her, she knew it. Everybody's afraid to die. I think she was afraid to die, but she knew it was the time. So she won the game. She died when she wanted, where she wanted, and how she wanted, and that's a winner in life. So I think if the last note I'll say is we celebrate her individuality. I think all 3 of us inherited that from her, and I'm proud to have been a great son. And again, I was her only son. She was my only mom, and I'm really proud that she was. So, thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm not going to introduce myself. Okay. It is surreal that I am eulogizing my mom today. She had warned me so many times that she might not be here in the morning, but lo and behold, on October 7th, my mom who cried wolf often got eaten. My mom who cried wolf often got eaten by the wolf. Thankfully, that's just a fable, and my mom died peacefully in her sleep. In the past few days, many people have told me I'm an angel or a saint for caring for my mom, but the truth is I am neither. I was just a very grateful daughter trying to give back for my wonderful childhood and long support in adulthood. How could I not if it was in my power to give the best end possible? I learned lots of life lessons, like you can't make someone else happy, but boy did I try. I attempted to show her all that she could still do, but usually to no avail. I couldn't figure it out till recently. She didn't want doctors to help her feel a little better. She wanted to be cured from old age and sickness, and maybe thrown in a time machine as well. She would always say, getting old is not for sissies. Her end became all-consuming, but the truth is that was just such a small part of her very rich and full life. Her childhood was hard, there wasn't much money, and her only brother Arthur was blind. But on both sides of the family there was a very close bond, and this gave my mom her devotion to form loving relationships with aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. They always celebrated the Jewish holidays together. My mom and dad made a beautiful family, and we all really like each other most times. And their legacy continues with our kids and their kids. At the end of the day, who could ask for more? It's funny because my mom told me of incidences over the years that hurt her or miffed her, and in the last few years, she would have a positive view of the same situation. So that's maybe one of the silver linings of getting old. You see situations through rose-colored glasses, another life lesson. My mom had such a love of life. She had many interests that she pursued. She went back to college when I did, took enough courses for a degree, but she just wanted to be there to learn. One of her classmates led her to her friendship with Maria. She taught my mom Spanish, and my mom traveled to Chile with her and stayed with Maria and her extended family for 7 weeks. That was my mother. She formed lifelong relationships. She taught ESL, and one of her students invited her back to Turkey with her. I was always amazed. I would say, do you think you're going to feel comfortable? And she would always say it would be fine, and it was always more than fine. She would have a once-in-a-lifetime experience. She epitomized stepping out of her comfort zone and being richly rewarded. She had a lifelong love of camp from her childhood. She went to Camp Wise, and it opened something so strong in her that she encouraged all 3 of her kids to go. Mike opted out, Roger went for a few years, and I had the best summers of my life at Plymouth Shore. And well, AJ took it to a new level by going 18 years to Camp Walden. I could tell my mom anything. We had a very special bond, and it was heartbreaking when she couldn't advise me anymore and our roles were reversing. One day she said to me, "You know, you really can't help yelling at me. It's just your nature." So I said, "Well, you can't help being negative. It's just your nature." And she looked at me and she said, "Well, now we're even." And we both had a good laugh. My mom had so many friends from so many different paths. I could go on, but the truth is simple. Charlotte Friedman was a lovely person, and she will be missed by so many. But how lucky to have lived a mostly healthy and very long life and take advantage of everything that there was to offer. First, a shout out to my mom, who, little contrary to what my brother said, I think she made a life for herself the last 21 years. She went on trips, she lived independently, she had lots of interests, she went to theater. So I think she did a good job being independent and being on her own. Big shout out to my partner Bill, who saved my mom not once but twice. Cousin Anito, who was like a younger sister to my mom, and in the past few years sent weekly gorgeous cards to lift my mom's spirit. To Mike and Roger, who made it possible for our mom to stay in her condo till the end. To Tanya for patiently taking care of her when it was difficult. To Danielle and Michelle for their many, many visits to keep Dada company. And I think my mom had a hand in keeping AJ safe and diverting his trip from Egypt to Cleveland so he could be here today. My mom loved her family fiercely, and she was extremely proud of all of us, and I think she did good. So finally, Mom, as you embark on your final journey, I do hope Dad is there to meet you. That is, if he doesn't get lost. I love you and will keep you close for the rest of my life in my heart.
I wasn't going to speak, but I wanted to say a couple last things. And obviously Danielle and Mike and Kathy said some wonderful things about Mom and expressed the essence of her. But the real essence of her was that being rich doesn't mean how much money you have. It means how many friends you have and how many relationships you have and how important you are in people's lives. And my mom was truly a person who had an infinite amount of friends, and she cared so much about her friends and especially about her family. She brought people into her family. She brought, when we got married, the in-laws, she made them a big part of her family, and she just cared so dearly. She was so excited to go to a reunion with the Saltzmans just recently, and the time she spent with all of us was just amazing. And again, she was not a complicated, but a very interesting person who just loved life and brought all of us together. And it was so very special. And she did all these great things. And the last memory of her was just a month ago when Julia, our granddaughter, her great-granddaughter, her oldest, was bat mitzvahed, and she got to be there and be at the party and just enjoy everything. And she sat there, and they opened up the dessert bar, and I went over there and said, "Mom, would you like some ice cream?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Does it matter what kind?" She said, "No, whatever we got." So I brought her some ice cream, and she's sitting there eating it and just looked wonderful. It was just peaceful. And Tanya, who you've heard was her helper, and said, "Charlotte, you're not supposed to eat ice cream." And I looked at, "Mom, you're not supposed to eat ice cream?" And she said, "No, but I just wanted it." And that was a good part about Mom. Lastly, you've heard some good things, but I just want to emphasize, too, just how important and how amazing Kathy has been over these last 5 years. Because of her, my mom could truly live out the end of her life in her condo, to be by her where she loved it. And she loved Cleveland more than anything in the world, and she loved that condo, as Mike said, probably as much as anything. And being able to stay there was very special, and Kathy made that happen. She spent so much time with her, and sometimes had to not listen to what she was saying, because she could at times be annoying at the end of her life, and Kathy to put up with it all and treated her so special and let her have a great end of her life.
Let's take another breath. I share with you this reading by Rabbi Alvin Fine of blessed memory. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, not looking backwards or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high point along the way, but in having made the journey, step by step, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey. Today we mourn, we say goodbye, and we offer tribute to Charlotte Friedman. No more eloquent eulogy, no better summary of Charlotte's life can be given than to say that her family and her friends consider themselves incredibly fortunate and blessed because she was their mother, because she was their grandmother and great-grandmother, because she was their friend. Eshet Chayil mi Yimtza, a woman of valor, of strength, of independence, of fun. Who can find her? So asks the book of Proverbs. It really does say fun, Mike. We certainly found one in Charlotte, a strong-willed, righteous, independent, loving woman, respected by all who knew her. And while today's no happy occasion, we nevertheless celebrate Charlotte's life by recalling the many wonderful memories. As you've heard, Charlotte was born, and as you knew, Charlotte was born in Cleveland and grew up in the Glenville area of the city. She grew up with a strong eagerness and motivation to learn and to study, a drive that continued throughout her entire life. I love the story that was shared with me of her coming to religious school at Fairmount Temple. It didn't matter to her that the journey wasn't simple and that she didn't have the financial means to easily attend. She took 3 buses and made sure she was there for as many lessons as she could, thanks to her drive and passion for learning and for being with her beloved community. Charlotte loved to teach, and she spent her years working at Case as an ESL teacher. She also loved to teach bridge and was a bridge life master, the meaning of which I had to Google when you shared that with me yesterday. Mike, Kathy, and Roger, I'm so grateful for the time I had with your family yesterday where you shared unforgettable memories of your mom with me. What a privilege it was to learn about this incredible woman. You expressed to me that Charlotte was a woman ahead of her time, independent and fearless, who was very passionate about travel, who loved a good affair or a party, whose strawberry mold was a thing of legends, who was a news junkie, who didn't believe in giving up no matter how bad you might be in sports, and who, while very proud of her Jewish heritage, ate a slice of bacon every day. Amazing. Most importantly, you shared with me how important family was to Charlotte and how proud she was of each and every one of you. Family was the cornerstone of her existence, and she knew that true richness in life came from the love and unity of family members. She created a nurturing home, a sanctuary where love, laughter, and shared experiences flourished. She taught you that family was more than just a collection of individuals. It was a source of strength, comfort, and joy. Family gatherings filled with lively discussions, laughter, and the aroma of delicious meals were her favorite occasions. As we reflect on her life, we can't help but be inspired by the lessons she leaves behind. She showed you the importance of family bonds, the power of love, and the enduring strength of faith. Not a faith in which you have to follow strict rules and attend religious services, but a faith in the power of relationships, a faith in the power of friendship, a faith in the trust of your family. Charlotte lived a life guided by kindness and love. Today we also remember Charlotte as a dedicated and beloved wife to Jerry, of blessed memory, with whom she shared more than 50 years of marriage. She met Jerry at a Jewish dance in Cleveland. Upon seeing her, Jerry was struck by her beauty, and he never looked back. Is that where she got the email address, Dada the Beauty, right? They had their 3 amazing children, Roger, Mike, and Kathy, early in their marriage, something Charlotte was very proud of. She loved being a young mom of 3 kids, and she would share that with anybody and everybody. She was a devoted mother who tried to make the best life had to offer for her family. And as Mike, as you said, even when it was hard financially, her kids never knew that. Kathy, as many have mentioned, you devoted your life to her, especially in her later years. You were there by her side, helping and supporting, and being there for her in immeasurable ways. How blessed she was to have you by her side. How truly blessed she was. Michelle, Danielle, Johnny, and AJ, Yesterday, you represented her grandchildren and great-grandchildren in sharing stories with me. You shared that Charlotte, or Gigi, or Dada, as some of you refer to her as, was not your typical grandmother. She loved playing beauty shop with you and have her grandkids serve her by brushing her hair. She loved every moment that she could have with you, and you shared how she really loved sharing stories of her childhood, of her travel, of her parents with all of you. One of the greatest joys in Charlotte's life was the love she shared with you. Your laughter, innocence, and endless curiosity were a source of boundless happiness for her. She adored the way you would eagerly listen to her stories, soaking in the wisdom that she imparted. As you shared, she delighted in being present for your milestones, cheering you on as you reached new heights and achieved your dreams. It was important for her to be there for all of you, for your special occasions, weddings, birthday, b'nai mitzvah, graduations. She was also quite a devotee of Facebook, as we know. She never wanted to miss a thing. She wanted to be a part of everybody's life, and she wanted to know what was going on so she could be there and celebrate with you. I loved learning about Charlotte's travel. Yes, she loved the beach and Spain and cruises, but she also loved the thrill. She appreciated roller coasters. She loved going to Cedar Point and even took a very memorable ride on a hot air balloon that ended with 2 broken ankles. While some may think she was fearless, there were a few small things she avoided. She would always take the highest roller coaster over coming close to a bee or a light bulb any day. Friends, we must keep telling the story of this Eshet Hayil, this woman of valor and love, and live our own lives in ways that would have made her proud. There's a custom when a Jewish scholar finishes a book about the Torah or the Bible, the author doesn't write the words, the end. Instead, we are taught to write Hebrew words, tam v'nishlam, meaning that the purpose of the work has been achieved in its fullness. And so it is with the life of your beloved Charlotte. You lived a full life. In her passing, we mourn the physical loss of a remarkable woman, but we also celebrate a life well lived. We honor the love she showered upon her family, the wisdom she imparted, and the legacy that she leaves behind. May we all be inspired by Charlotte to lead our lives with passion, independence, and integrity. May we learn from her example to always be there for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, to be nurturing and caring to our spouses, and to enjoy life to the fullest. May Charlotte's memory be for a blessing. Zichrona livracha, and let us say, Amen. Before we rise for our memorial prayer, I want to share some directions. The interment will happen immediately after this service at Mount Olive Cemetery. There will be directions out front. And following the interment, a Shiva gathering will be held at 2202 Acacia Park Drive. That'll happen until 4:30 in the afternoon, and again from 6 to 8 p.m. Contributions are suggested to be given to Anshe Chesed Fairmount Temple. Again, the location is 2202 Acacia Park Drive. We continue with our memorial prayer, the El Malei Rachamim, and I invite you all to please rise. El Malei Rachamim, Shocheina Bamromim, Hametzei Menocha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utehorim, Kezohar Arakia, Mazhirim. Et Nishmat Charlotte Bat Maurice Vadel, Shehalcha Leolama. Bal Arachamim יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. May the source of life, the fountain of all being, open our hearts to compassion and our eyes to wisdom, that we might glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May Charlotte's memory be for us a blessing, and may we never let the light of her love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all her worthy and righteous deeds, that her memory be forever bound up in the bond of life. God is our source and our destination, our beginning and our end. May Charlotte's passing awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we shared and share not be disconnected in sorrow. May she rest in peace, and together we say, Amen.